And it seems to me this is an admirable gift that the comedian had. It struck me as in many ways emblematic, I think, of the quick thinking that stand-up comedians pride themselves on, more, as I said earlier, than the actual comedy itself. Some of you may have read Richard Ellman's biography of Oscar Wilde. Probably, I guess, the definitive Wilde biography. Ellman says writes towards the end of the book that Oscar Wilde would have made a brilliant stand-up comedian, and as an example, he tells the story of when Wilde, after dinner, Wilde had been drinking heavily, and after dinner he boasted to his friends that he could be funny on any subject they cared to throw at him. So one of the guests said, "Her Majesty," and Wilde immediately replied, "Her Majesty is not a subject." Now, what struck me about the way Ellman phrased this was first his claim that Wilde would be a brilliant stand-up comedian, and then a sentence structure to prove it went immediately, comma, Wilde retorted. In other words, what Ellman recognised was it's not just the content of Wilde's reply, which was characteristically witty, it was the speed with which was offered immediately. This is what he was using as the test, if you like, the stand-up comedian. Not the text itself, necessarily, which, well, of course it was Wilde, it was going to be funny, but it was the lack of engagement, the lack of hesitation, or something like that. So I just wanted to try something out with you. There's a scenario I sketched out here. How about you were heading to your office one morning and expecting to do your email or something like that. Head of department comes out, like grabs you, and points out that, or put it this way, in 2 minutes' time, you have to teach a book on a core course several hundred years removed from the customary reading period, or teaching period. Not only have you not read the book, you've never even heard of it, or of its author. You have no copy of it, and the bookshop was burned to the ground last night by student activists angered by their teachers' persistently inadequate preparation. What would you do inside the seminar room? Right, if I could give you 2 minutes to a minute to come up with something quicker, just to have a, here's the deal. You've got 2 minutes. You've got to do something, obviously. You don't refuse, I suppose. Please just let me know what you would do. When you walk in that seminar room, what would you do?
I'll take register first.
You
I'd first take attendance. That's the first thing I would do.
And make it last a long
I'd teach a class on speed reading.
On speed reading? Not bad at all, yes. Yeah.
I would look at the first paragraph. I'd borrow a text from a student and look at the first paragraph and see what we could get from the very first paragraph and close reading.
Okay, and the borrowing of the text would be accompanied by what? I mean, why haven't you got your own? I'd be thinking it was me.
It wouldn't matter. I wouldn't give an explanation.
Okay, fine. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd just go into the room maybe and say, we're all going to sit in the same places each week, and then get everyone to move around once if someone else is at the front.
Well, here's a couple of minutes gone.
See how they do.
Okay, right, yes. Oh, I thought they had it.
Sorry.
I'd see if they bite first.
You'd see?
I'd see if they bite first. I'd see what the
Oh, what the mood was?
mood, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, what if it was sour and ugly?
I think I'd try and put some effort into making the students work before me. I think I'd try and keep myself sort of closed off
Okay.
in some way.
Yeah.
I do something I hadn't before when I taught a book that I hadn't read, and I got the students to tell me what are the key themes do you think in this text, right? Then put them in groups and allocate a theme to each group and say, like, you know, in 10 minutes I'd like to come up with some ideas you can do that series.
Very good.
For quite a long time.
Yes, and in the meantime you could borrow a...
I looked at the passage we could study later.
Yes. You could always say, in that case, as a Coles look at borrowing the book, is this a new edition? You know, I haven't seen this one
Yeah,
before.
covers,
Has it got
might
the-
be different covers.
Exactly, and then you can look at, you can add sonnets, right? Yeah. Anybody else? I've noticed a theme among all of you, which was that of dishonesty. Which I must say, from my own perspective, you know, I'm glad to hear it. And what I've seen happen is the teacher come in there and say, I haven't read the book. We're all going to have to learn this together, or something of that kind. No, don't do that. I don't think that's a good thing to do at all. Because they've got a right to at least believe we know what we're doing, I think. I mean, a variation on one of these things is, the first time I ever did this, I got called out, I forget why, I hadn't read it, and I came in and said, one of the remarkable things about this book is the bewildering number of different interpretations of it that have surfaced and been a source of much critical debate. And I want you to tear a loose leaf out, get hold of a loose leaf of paper, you don't have to put your name or anything, but just write down, effectively, what you think the key themes are, the main passage, and so on, what texts reminiscent of, and so on. Hand it down to me as soon as you finish. Of course, some of them are faster than others. So by the time the slower ones are finished off, you've got a big stack now. And you've got competing, obviously you've got to isolate the ones that compete, and then put people in groups, even if they don't identify or acknowledge that point of view, so to speak, and make them all squabble among themselves while you speed read through the book. That's your technique there. But what you'll notice here, if you do this, the arguments that are generated among the students from the groups you put them into are just easily as productive as if you really read the book. I mean, the issue is to get them arguing about it, not you telling them about it. And so, I said at Leicester, I asked the same question, what would you do? And one woman said she'd resign. That's a bit extreme, isn't it? I mean, there is a way out of this. I mean, but again, I mean, in a way, her response was amusing, but also, in many respects, indicative of a certain kind of academic mind that simply isn't going to accommodate any circumstance it's not fully in control of. I think we need to start finding ways of being able to handle situations that are out of control rather than being so prepared, if you like, it never happens. Because it is going to happen. It's necessary. I think I was very impressed with the fact that none of you would tell the students the truth. Which, I mean, in some ways, I've got this from comedy too. On a £3 comedy night, the audience is expecting the acts to be a bit rubbish. That's quite natural, isn't it? £3, 5 minutes each, they're going to be a bit rubbish. But when they pay £12 on a Saturday night, they're not going to put up with the same level of incompetence. Well, why would they? I think there are plenty of academics still mired in a pre-fee paying ethos, if you like, or culture, where they don't quite recognise it's just not acceptable anymore to tell a group of students you haven't read the book. That just isn't acceptable. That's like still thinking you're at some open mic night that you pay £2 to get into.
But it's interesting that no one said no.
Yeah, I did.
Yes. No.
Yes. Yes.
I'll go and I'll do something else.
Yes, I'm not that book.
I'm not going to do that.
Now,
because or I might talk about but it's kind of, there's another way, isn't there? But the preparedness to take on that massive responsibility and pressure.
Now, I think that's it. In a way, yeah, no, you wouldn't, that's fair enough. In a way, you could say that honesty, I haven't read the book, is a kind of laziness. You know what I mean? That to lie requires effort, ingenuity, and as you say, real pressure. Real pressure. Now, it is interesting, you are right. It's interesting that nobody said no. And presumably, any department couldn't make us teach a book we'd never heard of, didn't have a copy of. But what else would you do?
Something else.
Yeah, something else, yeah.
So, we're not there.
Say it's a class on Chaucer or Shakespeare, what would you do? And they've all read their copy, we have to assume, of Othello or whatever it is. And you want to come in and talk about, Animal Farm. Well, good luck with that.
I think so, I know. That's the only thing.
Excuse me, so throughout the morning sessions we were assuming that the students hadn't read the book. And I just wondered, I've done something exactly the same as what you just described, and I haven't read the book, but what happens if they haven't either? I mean, do you then actually have to sort of cancel the seminar in disgust that they haven't read it?
No, some of my colleagues take a really tough line on this, and if the student has read the book, they won't let them in the class. Now, it's a perfectly acceptable stance to take. But for me, if they're in there, I want to do something with them. It seems a bit harsh to send them away, and their reading load is heavy, and so no, I'll do something, as a suggestion earlier, I'll do something with disciplination to read it. And I mean, this is something else I've noticed from comedy clubs as well. No decent comic comes into a club where there's only 8 people, say, 9 people, it's a quiet night, and draws attention to the quietness of the night. That's a big mistake. You don't see, some newer comics will come out and say, well, I've slept with more people in one night than this. It gets a titter, but it also draws attention to the fact there's not many people there. Right? And now they're self-conscious about laughing, there's not many of them as well. It's a bad strategic error. But what if, say, you were used to 20 or 25 in your class, and little Laura is on Monday, and you're down to 4. Right? It's pretty hard to pretend that the room's full. But equally, it seems to be pointless to point out that it's empty unless you're going to use the emptiness as part of the teaching strategy. Is it to do with Laura's length? Is everybody can put off because it's too long and so on? Otherwise, I would draw attention to the paucity of students. It can only make you look like a bad teacher. I think you've got to go out there like a comedian. You've got to go out there and pretend the room's full. You've got to go out there with small numbers. But I will do something with a disinclination to read. Why haven't they read? What, none of you? If it's a big book, you can talk about length, change of reading attitudes, but if it's a small one, they haven't read it. If it's a small one, they haven't read it, and you haven't read it. So it's a great guess about the right length, is it? Or what's a small, Heart of Darkness, so. Heart of Darkness. I mean, we should be able to manage Heart of Darkness, even if we haven't read it. We must have heard of it. We know that Apocalypse Now was made as a film of it, so. I mean, I can't imagine any decent teacher not being able to get through, and then, as you say, as we can all do, a bit of close reading. While they're doing that, you're looking ahead into text and so forth. Talk about the novella as a genre, separate from the short story and the novel. What length of text, or what do we think separates a short story from a novella? Why not talk about genre? What other novellas do you know? Why is a novella not a fashionable art form in Britain? You understand it is in Russia? Why might that be? Right, probably isn't in Russia, that doesn't matter, does it? And if there was a Russian in the room to say, I think you'll find the novella is not particularly, I would say, because of communism. No, certainly. But yes, I mean, the flexibility, I think, that I'm arguing we need to inculcate, really, in order to make us quicker thinking, while still retaining the depth of our scholarship. But I'm not saying that we should dumb down in any way. I'm just saying that I think the scholar ought to be less scholarly in the seminar room, more open, more quick, than they allow themselves to be, quite rightly, or allowed to be, as scholars. Why not bring in the Russian about so what? And as you said earlier, yes, The Great Gatsby is like all of his novels, and then just come around next week. In fact, give them the impression that the question was so interesting, you've been thinking about it all week. I mean, that's very flattering for the student, I think. Instead, what you do is say whatever you can get off the hook, then find out what the situation really is, and in that way you haven't betrayed them pedagogically, if you like, but you haven't made anything bad for yourselves now. Could anybody offer me a question they would just hate to be asked in a seminar? Something they feel would derail them completely?
In chapter 3.
Ominous beginning.
What kind of car?
I mean, here obviously you can get around that by saying I don't drive. But I did see a very interesting case once. I don't know if anybody knows Edith Wharton's The Age of Innocence. There's a famous final page and a half in there where a man doesn't go up to see his old lover and so on. And there's several competing interpretations of this. And I once, in an American literature class, watched a teacher doing The Age of Innocence, but it brought with her 3 full copies of 3 separate journal articles, all of which disagree, if you like, offer different readings of this final ending, if you like. And God knows how many trees were slaughtered in this exercise. And she took them through all 3 competing interpretations and so on, then trumped these 3 with her own, which was even more ingenious than any of those, as you can well imagine, right? Which was coming out in a book the next year or something of this kind. So that's 4 interpretations of the final chapter and so on. And I was saying, so at the end of the session, if you are saying, so they've now got 4 interpretations of one individual text. Would it not have been better to point out vocally, quite quickly, that there are these 3, 4 competing readings at the end, and then talk about interpretation? So interpretation itself as a phenomenon, if you like. How did Edith Wharton offer a page and a half that attracted 4 such widely divergent readings? Textually, what did she do that left it so opaque and amenable to various interpretations that these exist? This would seem to me to be a profitable line to take with them, because interpretation, of course, it's everywhere. Heuristics, if you like, at the heart of our discipline, in many respects, is the act of interpretation. But why offer them 4 separate interpretations of one text? They leave then, it seems to me, having learned nothing. All they've been told is there are 4 different ways of looking at it. But if you abandoned the specificity almost immediately and started talking about how interpretation works, why did this particular critic read it in this way and this one in this way, when the text itself hasn't changed? It's always there. It's our readings of it that change and so on. That seems to me profitable. What this teacher did seemed to be a waste of time and a waste of paper. But for me, always, I want to move from the specific issue, you know, the letter under the door in a Hardy novel, something like that, to coincidence across the novel. What other coincidences have generated major plot turns in other novels and so on? What role does coincidence have in a higher... Look at the contradiction between mischance in Hardy, and that seems kind of an inexorable Greek tragedy. How does he combine the two? And so on. You don't need to know in what chapter the letter gets shoved under the door. You don't even have to be talking about Hardy to do it. You can talk about a coincidence in another novel. But as long as you're not bogged down, it seems to me, in the minutiae of each individual text, you have to transcend. The less you know specifically about the book, the more forced you are to place the book inside a continuum of interpretive and cultural issues, if you like, of which it's clearly only an exemplar. I sometimes feel we fetishise texts, think of them as a crucial object in their own right. But this is again the scholar talking, I think, not the teacher. You know, the books, if it wasn't, I always say to my students, if it wasn't this book, it would be another one. You know, this is a good book, an important book, whatever it is, but it's just a book. And what it does is open up issues about, in the Age of Innocence case, the clash between Europe and America. Well, how many other novels of James, practically the whole of James's career is based on that conflict. Wharton, indebted to James in many ways, more popular novelist than anyone, Wyche more popular than James, and so on. Huge issues that you don't have to read the book. But what you have to be good at, I think, is dealing with anything that comes your way in the course of it, as in what happens in chapter 3. You know, why is it, as a story mechanism, why is the book divided into so many short chapters? Why not longer ones structured into books? Right? You can talk about the structure of it. There's all kinds of things you can do here. Obviously, admitting you haven't read it, it's not one of them. And you just wouldn't need to. So nobody can think of a question. Yes, I mean you do. In chapter 3, when I was growing up in New Zealand, I didn't know anything about the education system or anything, but we were divided, I went to a Catholic boys' school, we were divided into 4 streams, into 4 very specific classes, right? Professional, general, commercial, and modern. And you see the priests' contempt for the modern world, with the way they put the absolute weakest students in a class called modern. Now, for some reason, in English literature anyway, all 4 classes had to read the same book. But we were asked, obviously, questions of varying complexity about them. So, for example, I was in a professional class, our question about the shame, the Western shame, our question was, do you believe the Western to be allegorical in its representation of good versus evil? And my mates, who were in the modern class, their question was, what colour was Shane's horse? Now, the thing worth thinking about here, and it has preoccupied me, the thing that I'm thinking about here is, I probably got an A, I can't remember, I probably got an A for my essay on the allegory, but maybe I wouldn't have passed the other question. I probably didn't notice what colour Shane's horse was, because I was actually thinking about the allegorical significance of the Western. So imagine if I'd been asked to sit their paper, I would have failed it, and I would have failed the lowest of the classes, where I was actually capable of answering the highest bit. It's an interesting thing that detail, if you like, isn't something we necessarily observe. This is why the chapter 3 thing wouldn't throw me. I'd say I happen to never notice, or something of that kind, because I'm busy with the bigger picture, if you like. I wonder if I could just ask, I was playing this proverb game with one of my colleagues, and I said, for example, red sky at night, shepherd's delight. All right? I hate Thomas Hardy's novels. I just wondered if I could offer you a proverb, could you stick something literally on the end of it, as in that? For example, a penny saved is a penny earned. Anybody relate this? Penny saved is a penny earned to a literary text.
Great expectations.
What's that?
Great expectations.
Okay, you've got to turn it into a sentence or something like that. You know, like red sky at night, shepherd's delight. I hate Thomas Hardy's novels. A penny saved is a penny earned. See, it's got to be a sentence. All right. Anybody? Penny saved is a penny earned.
Does it have to actually reflect on the novel that you're talking about? Does it have to have a relationship between...
Well, if it doesn't, why would you mention it?
I didn't see the relationship
No,
between Thomas Hardy.
no.
Well, for me, nature.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I don't think of any other English novelist quite as preoccupied with nature. Maybe you do. 19th century is not my field. But when I think red sky, night shepherd's delight, I'm thinking outdoors, nature,
Oh,
art.
I see. Right.
Right? Now, when I'm thinking penny saved is a penny earned, you're thinking great expectations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pip's journey to maturity and great expectations.
Okay, where's the penny saved and penny earned?
Well, I'm significantly well, okay.
Okay. And what we're thinking about is money, isn't it? Penny saved is a penny earned, we're thinking money. Thinking money, what novel might we think of? Several of Dickens's have got misers in them, surely. Fagin is a miser, isn't he? And the Jew of Malta, who's throwing money all over himself, like rolling around Barabbas, throwing around. You're never going to get an exact match. What you have to look at is something as close to it as you can find. It's, for example, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
The hypochondriac.
What's that?
The hypochondriac.
And again, it has to go to season.
Oh, right, sorry. Ooh, I love the hypochondriac.
Okay. But surely you remember me, Moliere's the hypochondriac, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, Moliere's the hypochondriac, exactly. That's the kind of thing, though. How about an Englishman's home as his castle?
Oh, not Brideshead Revisited again.
What's that?
Not Brideshead Revisited again.
Okay, yes, sir.
Not Brideshead Revisited again.
Not Brideshead Revisited again, good. Not Brideshead Revisited again.
For example.
Very good. A picture paints 1,000 words.
Or makes you get younger. Or makes you get younger.
I guess, okay, yes, all right. Every dark cloud has a silver lining.
Are we supposed to get a literary text in
Yes.
the answer?
In a sentence. Or I can't have any more I loves. It's an area of what? Cloud. Silver. Lining. First silver makes me think of Nostromo. The silver mines, if you like. Clouds. Paradise Lost. Satan falling through them. Lining. Anything to do with clothes. Carlyle. Sartor Rosatus. Something like that. But they're the kind of connections you'll be looking for. But they've got to come quick. And they're not going to come quick. Because it's not the way we're trained.
But who's meant to be answering these questions? The students.
What's that?
Is it students who are meant to be answering these?
No, it's you.
questions?
And what I was interested in, never judge a book by its cover.
We can't do it. We can't do it, though.
There is no particular reason why, of course, you would pass. The reason I introduce it is simply to point out that it's not something we're used to doing. I mean, we think deep, we prepare well, and we encourage it as a professional activity, if you like. What we don't encourage is winning it. What we don't encourage is improvisation or speed of thought or something of that kind, yes.
And we're also in a position here of probably like what our students, or certainly my students are in, they don't want to get it wrong.
Yes, yes,
We're doing the
yes.
same thing, we don't want to be wrong.
I think that's a very good point, actually. I think one of the things I observed, I never thought, I took completely for granted when I started doing stand-up, but it occurs to me that academics often have misperceive themselves in the profession. I think they often see themselves as kind of the more cavalier of the professional classes. You know, more ultra in their thinking, more aware, if you like, politically, and so on. But in all fairness, they can be as niggardly as accountants and as cautious as solicitors. You know, I do think they generally misrepresent themselves as a profession. And I think what we all have to remember is this: not one of us became an academic because we didn't do our homework. We are spotty. You know, that's the fact. We stayed in the library much longer than we needed to. And we've carried over those traits, I think, of diligence, of commitment, and so into our professional life, to a point where we're probably incapacitating ourselves and probably not helping our students particularly. That professionally, probably one of the best things we could do is not work so hard. And be more trusting in our own abilities to react under pressure. But we're so careful to not put ourselves in a pressure situation that we never know what spontaneous brilliance could come if we were under pressure. That's where it comes from. If you're so well prepared that you know exactly what you're going to say and there's no room for them to come in, then what chances are for the improvisational moment? I mean, Adam Bloom, if we get Adam Bloom, he says the best lines of a night, the most memorable lines of any comedy night will almost certainly be ad-libbed. And from 10 years of experience, I think he's absolutely right. Now, what would the equivalent be in a seminar? What would the equivalent be of a laugh that takes the roof off?
Your moment, your own person as a tutor, your own moment of insight into a text that you haven't thought of.
Yes. A connection, say, between, I don't know, the Miller's Tale and I can't even think what book it might be like, but you see what I mean? A connection that you would have thought of making in 1,000 years if you were in the library and had all your texts and funny. These are connections you make because they're the ones everybody else has made. But you, under pressure, struggling, you suddenly think, Christ, yeah, that opening scene is reminiscent of those people who talk like books, Fahrenheit 451, or something that comes back you haven't thought of in 10 years, Fahrenheit 451. But under pressure now you do. Because you have to, and you haven't prepared so much that you've locked down the possibility of an improvisatory moment that obviously we communicate with enthusiasm with the students. And now they think, who would have thought you could connect a Shakespeare play with a cyberpunk novel, shall we say? And now they start to think there are connections we can make that don't have to be given to us, so to speak, but they wouldn't have got there without your improvisation, if you like, which is essentially, I suppose, what I'm advocating. Comics like the Comedy School players, probably the best in the country, I mean, they're very proficient, skilled comedians when they're not doing improv. But they're able to improvise because they're doing what I was suggesting here. Somebody says trees, and they think 100 things: trees, birds, acorns, seeds. They don't just focus on the one word tree, they're thinking of the whole universe that surrounds the word tree. What we do, I think, is stay pretty much where we are. There was a game I played, that I played at Edinburgh University, and people in pairs would say words with each other, like, for example, I'd say camera, and you had to reply. Absolutely mean what's that? Camera? Lens, okay. And Christmas? And tree, okay. Now, excellent examples, I think, of the way we think, all right. Now, I also run courses at the weekends, and people who aren't academics come in. I went to ask these people who were exactly the same, camera, and the other person said, your mum. Right? Now, what I'm thinking of is, what the academic tends to do is to find something in an absolute direct line with the subject, as in Christmas and tree, camera and lens. But people who haven't been trained our way, if you like, people just coming off the street, tend to be actually wittier and more oblique in their thinking. Surprisingly, or you would have thought surprisingly. I mean, Christmas, well, alcohol is not quite the same as tree. But it is absolutely associated with Christmas as well. It's just that we don't think flexibly. And the fact of the matter is, why would we? Who taught us to? There's no, the teacher training that people get is pretty much now in either hefty documentation or in stuff that you will quote earlier about emotional intelligence and so on, and trust and all these kinds of things. Nobody teaches people how to think quickly. But we've never had to before, I don't think. We took an audience for granted, they were going to be there. They were docile enough and happy enough. But now I think they're changing. I mean, a lot of older members of staff often say to me, this education development stuff is bullshit. When I started out, there wasn't any of that. And of course the implication is, I'm absolutely brilliant, and I didn't need any of this bullshit teacher training and stuff. And I always think to myself, when you started out, you were like all of us, you were crap. It's just that you were crap in front of 4 people. And they were being paid to go to university. And they knew when they graduated, given the rarity of the degree, they were almost certainly going to get a good job. I mean, how rubbish would you have had to be for them to complain? But look at it now. Well, hundreds of thousands of young people have got degrees. You know, the market value, if you like, is plummeting. They're much more concerned, I think, about the quality of the teaching they're getting. Why wouldn't they be? It's just common sense. And again, I'm not suggesting for a moment that all academics become skilled with improviser or anything like that. What I am saying is, if you're good at it, you can take a lot of work off yourself in terms of the preparation. You don't have to plough for that whole 500-page novel. You've read hundreds of other 500-page novels. Now you've got other stuff to do. Let them read it or not read it, doesn't matter. Really. I mean, the thing is, what I think is, we're not here to teach texts. We're here to teach students. I mean, we owe no respect to the canon. We don't owe the book, a careful delineation of its many complexities. That's not our job. Our job is to get them thinking about issues generated by this particular book. And we are run with anything they come up with, or even a look of incomprehension. The other week, near the end of my American Literature class, the book was Thomas Pynchon's Crime Block 49, and it was a particularly idle young bloke in the front row, if you like. I don't think he said virtually anything all semester. I said to him, so, what did you enjoy Crime Block 49? I forget exactly how I phrased it. And he said, well, it didn't change my life. So, I said to him, how many books have? Turned out the answer was none. I said, so, you were asking quite a lot of the penultimate book on 20th century literary American course, really, weren't you? And, in fairness, we've got an interesting conversation going about how many books had changed people's lives. I just asked them in general. Anybody here had a book that changed their lives? Only one person did, a young woman, who said she bought a book in a second-hand bookshop, waiting to get her hair done, because she'd read all the magazines and the hairdressers, picked it out pretty much at random, because she didn't want to lose her place, brought it back, and it was an account of somebody exploring in Bolivia. She knew nothing about Bolivia, she had no interest in exploring. However, she read the books, which was fascinating, and she spent her gap year doing charity work in South America. Right, and you can't contest that as a book that changed your life, right? But it was not exactly a literary experience. And so, again, I raised the question with them, do you think it possible that a literary text, devoid of any practical merit, so to speak, could change your lives? And the answer pretty much was no.
Yes.
Yes, if you had been there, you became an academic.
I read David Lodge's Small World and decided to do my PhD and become a lecturer because of it.
Yes, so that's a pretty good, okay. Did that change your life?
Yeah, I think it did actually.
Yeah, but you would have just written on somebody else.
No, I didn't write about it. No, his book, because my field is dance, his book made me decide to do my PhD.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, no, I appreciate the distinction, absolutely. Yes, that would seem to be able to change your life.
Yeah.
But as a rule, as a requirement, if you like, it's a massive one, isn't it? I mean, how many people here have had their lives changed by a book? I'm not sure I have. But raises questions about what books are for. I mean, I remember when I did Lord of the Flies as a 15-year-old, and I devoured it. What I was absolutely staggered by in the class was that anybody else didn't read it the way I did. That human beings were vicious, bestial animals. They would slaughter one another in the slightest opportunity. I took it so much for granted that when somebody else said I was too pessimistic about human nature, I thought, what? Surely, are you mad? It took me a long time to realise there was more than one way of looking at something. But in fact, I went on to write 2 books on it. I wrote my PhD thesis on it. I wrote my MA thesis on human sacrifice and cannibalism in William Golding. And my examiner said it was the most depressing thing he'd ever read in his life. It's when I became a comedian. There's a number of things I watched in myself and in other acts after I started out. And it made me start, again, I'll probably come back with my theme of I think we work too hard. And I started watching ways in which we could lessen our workload. And I noticed that the stand-up comedy, what I did for several years, I can't think why I did it now, I was so slow to realise what I was doing. If I'd written a joke, I was telling a joke, and the audience laughed ahead of the punchline, because they could see where I was going with it, and they laughed ahead, I would talk over their laughter and insist on delivering the punchline as though they hadn't laughed. Right? Now, my return, quite rightly, was an anticlimactic titter. Right? It should have obviously been a full-blooded, mirthful roar. Right? Now, what I realised I was doing was taking away from them their own pleasure at their perception and realising where I was going. That I should have had enough grace and enough discipline to let the punchline go, enjoy the laugh anyway. I was getting the laugh without speaking. But because I was an academic and a teacher, I couldn't shut up. That was the lesson I learned, really. That I should have allowed them to enjoy their own wit, appreciate their own perception. I got the laugh anyway. So now, if they sense the punchline coming, I won't even deliver it. In fact, I'll gesture to them, you're so clever. Well, they love that. Why shouldn't they? You're an audience, they did get where you were going and so on. But I thought, this must apply to teaching as well. And I started thinking about heckling as well. When comedians start out, they feel honour bound to crush any heckle that comes their way. Right? It's part of the contract. But the thing about the heckle is very complicated. The heckle has to be answered immediately, of course, but it also has to be answered comically, yes, but also commensurately. This is what a lot of comedians don't realise. That if the heckle is of particular brutality, it needs to be responded with exactly the same kind of brutality. But if it was amiable, easygoing, then your response also has to be absolutely commensurate to its amiability and easygoingness. There's 3 things in a row the comedian has to do with dealing with a heckler. Now, none of us are in that position. But I did notice, one night, a comedian heckled quite brutally, but funny. It was funny. In fact, what happened was that the comedian was comparing a new act competition, and the new act's rubbish. You know, he was quite good. New act's rubbish. And it was like Gladiator. He was just dragging one. It was just awful. And after about the 3rd one, it was a free night. That's why the acts weren't very good. And after about the 3rd one, he shouted out in the crowd, "What do you people expect for nothing?" And some bloke shouted back, "Change." But the thing is, the comedian laughed himself, gestured to the heckler, asked for a round of applause. The crowd's mood lightened towards the new acts. They were much more generous. And I thought what he did was absolutely right. Not to come back and crush the heckle. This guy contributed a bigger laugh than any of the 3 acts. But what I learned from watching was that sometimes we should do nothing. But actually, if we stop working so hard and doing stuff for them, if you like, then they can probably learn a bit more. So I mapped this over. There are several issues on this. One of which is, can I just ask this? If you're in a social engagement, a social gathering, and somebody asks you what you do, and you say, what would you say?
I'm a lecturer.
Oh, you're a lecturer, okay. And what are you doing as you speak? In your head, what are you doing?
Thinking of the next question.
What's that?
Thinking of their next question.
Thinking of their next question. There's no, when you say I'm a lecturer or I'm a teacher, you don't see yourself doing a particular activity. You're not teaching.
Yeah, I guess I'm
You're teaching, okay. Are you teaching a seminar or a lecture or a tutorial?
seminar.
A seminar, okay. Yeah, fair enough. What about you?
I would have said the same thing. I see myself giving a seminar
Okay.
rather than a lecture.
All right. Over here. What would you be doing?
I'd probably be giving a lecture.
A lecture? Right, so there's several hundred people in your picture.
Well, I give lectures to about a dozen, so.
What's that?
I give a lecture to about a dozen, so.
Oh, it doesn't? Jeez, that's not a lecture.
Where do you work? It's a lecture.
That's pretty good. The thing is, what I notice about most teachers, when they position themselves as teachers, they almost invariably see themselves interacting in some way or other with students. Lectures, seminars, or tutorials. But nobody ever sees themselves marking. and yet, surely, it's a major part of our job. And how can we say we're not teaching when we're putting comments on students' essays? In some ways, you might argue, it may be the baleful, nocturnal side of teaching. It doesn't mean it's not the most important. But here's something I've learned from Comedy Club. If I'm going to the Comedy Cafe, say, on a Thursday night, a notoriously rough night, and I've written I'll pick up a paper and thought of a couple of good political gags or topical gags or something like that, something about Hillary Clinton or the American right, I go onto that stage knowing I'm not going to be able to use them. I mean, that's not a crowd who are going to listen. This is a crowd of pissed up office workers. You know, they want fairly straight, solid, wham-bam jokes. I'm not chucking those jokes out of that crowd. Right? Firstly, they're not going to laugh at them, which means I'm going to have to work harder afterwards. And it's also going to make the night harder for everybody else and so on. So I don't do it. But I've applied this, I say them for another night, say Richmond or, you know, a more civilised club. What I've learned to do is back that across into marketing. And now, if I pick up an essay, and by the end of the second paragraph, if indeed it has got paragraphs, sadly can't take that for granted. What I see by the end of that second paragraph is that the student's subliterate, essentially, has no grasp of sentence structure, doesn't understand verbs or anything like that, doesn't understand paragraph and commas. I abandon any intellectual engagement with that essay. I'm seeing this now as me and Shoreditch on a rough Thursday night, and all I do is what I can do, which is mark the student's work with an eye to grammar, with an eye to sentence structure, punctuation. I do whatever I can on the time allotted, but I don't waste my time writing the margin. Yes, but compare with, you know, Joseph Conrad's novellas, or something equally as wasteful. This, to me, is like chucking political gags out at a Shoreditch crowd on a Thursday night. It doesn't seem to me to be the right thing to do. Just when the teacher writes in the margin, I'm an external examiner at 3 institutions, and of course I do second writing of my own, and I've seen this written on so many essays, I just think to myself, what good do you think you're doing with this comment? Compare with, or does this compare favourably with Bronte's later novels and so on? The student can't write a sentence, it hasn't got a verb in it. They don't understand that a sentence has to have a verb. They don't understand that a comma doesn't have the same grammatical weight as a full stop. Why would you indulge them intellectually? Any answers?
I think it's possible for a student not to know how to use full stops and commas quite rightly, but still be intellectually engaged to a certain level. So, I mean, I think you're right that you want to judge it right.
I suppose in fairness judgment can come in for me. I'd be thinking, what can I do that's useful?
I think I'd check if they were dyslexic first.
What's that?
Check if they're dyslexic first.
If they have a...
Dyslexic.
Yeah, ours are flagged up. Ours come with a little stamp, basically, saying the students be diagnosed as dyslexic. Even then, I have to say, the senior legislation makes it absolutely clear the dyslexic student gets marked in exactly the same way as the other student. It's just that the feedback should be more constructive and not in any way malicious or vindictive or anything like that. But we've been told by our own senior people that we mustn't mark dyslexic students up in any way. They can judge exactly the same as the others. They may get more time to write it, but we should be much more gentle, I think, is what they're saying in the feedback. But my issue here, if you like, is this cut across. If I'm at Shoreditch on a Thursday night, I don't indulge myself. I think I'm a professional paid comedian. It's not my job to give them material I know they're not going to like. It's my job to give them what I can give them that is going to entertain them. Now I see exactly the same with marking. It's much more... What I'd rather write is, yes, but consider with a niche echo homo and so on. This will make me feel like a proper academic. Writing in the margin of an essay, you need to put a verb in a sentence. This is not what I came in the profession to do. But this is her last chance now. This is the student's last chance. If I'm not going to correct the work grammatically, who's going to? I haven't got the right to indulge myself intellectually at the student's expense. Just no more that I do than being at Shoreditch and insisting on telling political jokes that I know are going to die on their arse. That just seems to me a professional and practical thing to do. I think academics don't like to do it because they didn't come into the job to be remedial grammarians. We feel affronted, I think, and also wasted. I mean, we're clever, and we're doing the work that should have been done pre-GCSE, it seems to me.
So Kevin,
Yes.
so you're kind of saying realpolitik, you know,
We are.
you're kind of proposing realpolitik that you cut your cloth according to your students.
Yes.
But how do you deal with disappointment then, as a lecturer? I mean, do you just actually say, you know, intellectual life is nasty, brutish and short, and just get on with being, you know, sort of a teacher of paragraphs and semicolons? Do you have this kind of a much lower standard that you're expecting because your ideals, what might be achievable, is never going to be achievable?
No, I don't know where ideals will come in. In fact, I'm very pragmatic, aren't I? I'm looking at if there's an essay there engaging with concepts, metaphysics, what our discipline does, if you like, then a few errors here are no big deal to me. I'm looking at a student who can't write, he's practically illiterate. And what I'm saying is, just as in Shoreditch, there's no point talking about the omniscient orator, just point out the sentence needs a verb. But I don't think any ideals are being shattered or anything like that. I think I enjoy my job enough, and I enjoy the writing side of it as well, to put up with this as a price I have to pay for having an academic job. It's the worst part of the job, if you like. But it has to be done, and I don't think I should indulge myself by writing compare with Emily Bronte's later fiction when a student clearly hasn't got a clue. I mean, I think it's wrong that student should graduate not only without a clue about literature, but illiterate as well. After 3 years in a university, studying English, it's a scandal, absolute scandal. And academics' own vanity plays some part in this, because they don't want to sit down and mark work in this remedial manner. They want to think of themselves as academics. I've seen plenty of comedians go on a rough club, insist on doing effete, precious material, crash and burn horribly, and then the rest of the acts and the compere have paid the price. That's why I don't do it.
Can't you refer them to, and we've got like an academic skills centre?
Yes, I will.
Can you not just say, go to the academic skills centre, that's a problem, rather than going through and correcting? Because are you saying that you should go through and correct everything?
Well, not everything, but I mean, I don't know how the rest of you mark, but I find myself 20 minutes, I think I give myself 20 minutes an essay.
So within that time, that's it?
Yes, within that time I do whatever I can, and I won't kind of repeat the same mistake if I can see another one. You know what I mean? But I might spend 20 minutes on a good essay, saying yes, but Eve Wharton's interpretive act, blah, 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 blah. Happy with that, But this student gets 20 minutes, and so many Shoreditch people do, but they get a different 20 minutes, so to speak. You know, what I'm doing, I think, is I'm trying to help. I'm a teacher. I don't bring my own vanity into the study when I'm marking. I think, Christ, I didn't come to the job for this. But nevertheless, students come to university. I can't do anything with them intellectually. In fact, in fairness, as often, if not more, him, intellectually. But I can help by pointing out, at least graduate knowing you can't write. I mean, that wasn't 3 years very well spent, was it? But still. But yes, I also learned, again, from not doing things, from watching comedians not working so hard. Comedians get brilliant laughs out of raising an eyebrow, or just slightly turning their head or something like that, or even smiling at what they've just said. Brilliant laugh. I think academics feel they always have to be working. Busy, busy, busy. And what I noticed about not working, the first thing I decided not to do was prepare anything. That was the first thing to go when I started doing stand-up. And I thought the teaching without doubt got better. I couldn't see any, that was incontestable, I think. The second thing I'd done was learning their names. And in 10 years, I never had a single complaint, either to me or above me, about me not knowing their names. Never. So I thought, this is good. I've got rid of 3 hours preparation for text, and a whole load of hassle learning their names, that's all gone, and things seem to be better and smoother. So the third thing I did was to give up issuing any reading lists to bibliographers. for essays. Because what I noticed was, well, I was validating a drama degree panel, and I noticed that there was a course on post-war American drama, which I know something about. And I just happened to notice that there were a lot of books I would have thought pretty important, critically, not on that list. And then I noticed a common theme. They were all written by male authors who had quite strongly entrenched conservative attitudes to the American stage. Whereas this bibliography was very much reflected in the other direction. Heavily feminist, heavy contemporary, and so on. So I started thinking that your actual reading list, well, we're talking here secondary text, for critical essays. Your reading list, bibliography, whatever you want to call them, is essentially a site of potential exclusion and political dissonance, suppression, aggression, all kinds of things, in fact. It's not the helping hand we think it is. Moreover, when you give it to them, and I've seen readings from bibliography given to students with accession numbers on. And they've actually pinpointed the book with such accuracy the student has to go into the library, doesn't look at any one of 100,000 books, but just like an exocet missile, into the ones that the teacher has marked up that they should read for their essay. And there are a number of things wrong with this. Firstly, the teachers designed the course. They've designed the order in which books will be read. They've decided which books will be read. They've decided when the assessment will occur. They've decided what the assessment will look like. They're going to mark the assessment. And by the way, here's a list of books you need to read to do the assessment. I mean, this is too controlling. Far too controlling. And like I say, that reading list the student doesn't understand has been built on suppression and disagreement and self-aggrandisement. They don't think that for a minute, why would they? They think this is a help. And what it is a hindrance. Because what happens when you give a student a reading list to write essays is they tend to do a bad job quicker. That's what happens. If you make them go in there with no help at all, they have to start walking through the stacks. At the very minimum, they start thinking, people have written a hell of a lot about this subject. And a lot of people take it very seriously. Maybe I should too. At the bare minimum, you might get that. Secondly, even the most modestly gifted student would be able to recognise the canon, if you like, by spending a couple of hours in the stacks of a particular century. Any one of us will recognise, to take American literature as my own example, you'd spend an hour on those stacks and you would realise Hemingway, Faulkner, Fitzgerald, Pynchon, Bellow. The critics too would stand out. Now, you could do it sheerly through the numbers of critical texts that have been written about particular writers. I would suggest any one of us could walk into any subject discipline, in any university library, and within an hour or two, we could acquaint ourselves with the big names in that field, the canonical texts in that field. Architecture, music criticism, art criticism, dance. We would recognise by the university presses, if you like, who've published on their work, the names of the critics, the amount of critics and so on. Osmotically, they would pick this up. If you didn't give them the reading lists that make them ignore anything like this. All right? And the third thing they've learned, what we all learned, discrimination, selection. For example, I give my students an essay on landscape in the modern American novel. Now what they want is a critical text called Landscape in the Modern American Novel. Right? Now there isn't one. I've made sure of that. I ordered for the library and then headed it. Right? What I want them to do is to walk through the stacks, and they're going to do something like this. They're going to come across a book called, I don't know, Jewish American Novels. Jewish American novelists of the post-war years. Right, is that book going to be any good to them? Anybody know? No, it won't be. Because when they take it down, they'll read quite quickly. Well, put it this way, if they don't read it quite quickly, that's their fault. What they will find as they move through it is the Jewish American novels are almost exclusively urban. That the major Jewish writers in America, Roth, Bellow, Malibu and so on, all their works in Chicago or New York. They are an urban phenomenon, if you like. The student puts the book back, disappointed and annoyed that they wasted their time. But of course they haven't wasted their time, though. They've just learned something about the Jewish American novel. And if they do that 100 times or 300 times in the course of their degree, they're going to start learning a lot more than they learn when you give them a bibliography. Because in fact, when you give them a bibliography, they learn nothing. They are literally, not only learning nothing, you're disempowering them from learning something that would be useful, which is discrimination, evaluation. They've got to start thinking of other words for landscape. Okay, no, what could landscape? What about, yeah?
I suppose this is actually similar to what we do as researchers or PhD students.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we don't
Exactly so.
for our subject. Actually, we should be teaching our students to do
Exactly.
use the same techniques that we use.
We're taking the skill. Yes.
In depth.
We've taken a skill away from them. And you're absolutely right, yes.
I completely agree with you, but I'm thinking, did you find, well, you've only been doing this in the last 10 years, and I'm thinking, as somebody that's only just beginning a career in academia, I wonder if I don't supply things like that, whether I'm going to suffer when the students fill in their course feedback,
Yes,
or my head of department will be on to me, and whether I can actually jeopardise my chances.
Oh no, it's a very, very reasonable observation, and certainly universities aren't asking far too much in the way of this kind of if you have to supply it, supply it. But I would supply it with the caveat that I don't think this is good for your education. I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
But yes, we certainly can't go against our masters in that sense, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose fortunate, our validation panel insists that any new course being proposed must have with it an up-to-date bibliography, which I provide, but then I don't give it to the students. But that's, I haven't broken any rules or done anything wrong. But if they actually said you must give them, you know, I would. Of course, I'm not going to fall out over something like this. But I would say to the students, don't kid yourself that you're learning anything. You're not learning anything by me giving you a list. What you are learning is, as I say, discrimination, evaluation. Okay, there's no book on landscape. What about the Midwest? The novel of the Midwest. Now, even then with the remotest grasp of geography, you'd probably think there's a fair bit of landscape out there. In fact, there's nothing else but landscape. Right now, if they didn't know that, they have learned something now. And so on and so on. They start, after a while, they can recognise critics' names. I said, Trilling might be useful. Or, you know, Empson. Yes, I mean, I remember such a, and so on. Well, that's the other thing about bibliographies. They're not written for students, they're written for validation panels and one's peers. Yeah. And they bristle with the most formidable theoretical texts meant to help students, but the student who actually gets as far as getting one of these books down can't even read it and feels inferior. I mean, I don't think, if you have to give them out, if you have to give them out, each text should be accompanied by a comment from you. Right? And this is a mixed ability learning issue, really. It should say something like a formidably difficult or impressively well-argued theoretically dense text. Right now, the student of modest ability realises this is not the book for them. But why not put some books in for them? And this is why the bibliography shouldn't be a kind of vantage site for your cutting-edge awareness and theoretical acuteness. Why not stick something like J.B. Priestley, The Literature of Western Man in there, or something like that? A book most of us would see as third rate, fourth rate even. But they're struggling first-year student. The stuff in there on Chaucer and Shakespeare is perfectly sound. And at least it gives you a springboard into a critical dialogue that you're never going to get with some of the brand new cutting-edge texts we've been putting on that reading list. But why not say, I want to say J.B. Priestley, even William Empson, what would you call it, agreeable, attainable, so use words like that, so the student who knows where they stand in the intellectual pecking order, they think, I'm going to get that one. But you haven't signalled this one's for feckies, or anything like that. What you said is, essentially, if you're theoretically inclined, this is the one for you. If you're not, this is the one for you, yes.
Can I just say, being one of your students in the past, I do so recently remember that in literature and fiction, secondary reading you gave us was just other books.
Yes, that's what secondary reading usually is, though.
No, I mean, no, it wasn't criticism, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, you're right, it wasn't criticism.
It was further reading.
It was further reading. You're absolutely right. You raise another good advantage about not giving them a reading list. If you don't give them a reading list, and they can't be bothered to go through the stacks, then I suggest to them, why not use theory? Now in the first year, they didn't want to touch theory. That looked like real trouble with hard work. We've all taught critical theory, I think. Yeah? No? It's hard work, isn't it? I found it very hard work, because the students didn't see the point of it. They saw it as a burden and intellectual delight and all the rest of it. But when you stop giving them bibliographies, what they want is author-specific text. Somebody on Fitzgerald's early novels, so-and-so on Wharton's early novels. All we have to point out now is, look, get a working knowledge of Marxism, or feminism, or new historicism, and you will never, ever again have to trek around the stacks looking for author-specific criticism. Now, it looks like a useful tool to them. Now they can see the value of it. Because you've taken away the author-specific criticism they were relying on. And what I'm saying is, sometimes we teach best when we don't help. There's a worrying trend, I think, in our profession. And the time's high, I have to say, the time's high, and have colluded in this to some degree. No offence. But there's often caring, nurturing, supporting, helping. These are all used as synonyms for teaching. They're not synonyms for teaching. Caring and helping aren't synonyms for teaching. Sometimes you've got to teach by being unhelpful. By putting obstacles in their way, they start to learn. If you keep giving those author-specific criticism, they don't get their head around the idea that theory might save them greatly the world. And here's the other thing that happens too. I think absolutely true. I'm sure it's happened to everybody here, but we've now taken the opportunity away from our students. I remember many years ago, I didn't have any reading this or anything, obviously. I'm looking for a collection of essays, something to help me write an essay. I came across glancing at a book called Jesting Pilot. Does anyone know this book? Aldous Huxley, right, turns out. Right, as I looked at it, I thought, Jesting Pilot. I mean, as I said earlier, I grew up in a Catholic school. The way Pilate was represented to me was a fairly cynical, a detached politician who really didn't want Christ crucified, but wasn't going to push against the Romans and basically threw them to the wolves, essentially. But he was jesting. That had never crossed my mind 1,000 years. So I took the book out, of course. And over the next 3 years, parallel with my degree, read absolutely all of Aldous Huxley. Absolutely loved it. Then found out that Aldous Huxley was one of William Golding's principal influences. Started reading William Golding, ended up doing a PhD, went back to all the flies. The thing is, Huxley, that text meant a lot to me because I found it. It wasn't a prescribed text, but I would never have found it if I'd been wandering through the stacks, attracted to that title. There was some research done this year that shows student visits to the LRCs across the country have fallen by 21%. Right, now what do you think this is attributable to?
Online.
What's that? Internet? Yes. What else?
Still the online journals.
What's that, sir?
The online journals.
Okay, they can access them online. Okay, so essentially technology. All right. How about one of the reasons the visits are down is that the library has lost any sense of being a place where you might find something remarkable, where you might find something extraordinary, something that change your life. Isn't that right? We collude. We even use words. There are books referred to, I'm reading this, as resources. I mean, I teach literature. I don't see a book as a resource. And I don't think we should be coerced into using that language either. My life was changed by browsing through libraries and finding books. But we're removing that possibly from our students with this overly rigid, mechanised belief that we're helping them in some way. We're not helping them, we're hindering them. Yes?
Isn't this an instance, though, of teaching to the professional rather than to the modern? Because you had a kind of epiphany in a library, doesn't necessarily mean that, say, an undergraduate, 18-year-old who's much more interested in finding a boyfriend or a girlfriend is going to have a similar experience.
There's no reason why not either.
No, but it does, I mean, it does seem to sort of hark back to your kind of streaming ideas, that there's kind of an experience possible if you're a particular type of person. And I don't know whether a bibliography militates against that. I think it could just as easily help you to a library, and you, as you're scanning the shelves, you scan other things.
Well, excuse me, that's my point. You're not scanning the shelves. You've been directed specifically.
But you are, but you do. I mean,
you do.
yes, but the analogy that you're bringing is of I do, because to come back to your New Zealand school, I would be in your class with you, the professional class with you, but if you're the modern student, who's not, whether it's called a library, an LRC, whether you have bibliography or you don't have a bibliography, they don't give a what's it about it, because they're it's a different world, it's another planet to them.
Well, the giving of bibliographies is what's helped make it another planet.
But I would say, in some ways, a bibliography would identify that, if you're doing Victorian studies, it's 821. Okay, so 821, and you might just then, walk around that level.
Indeed, you might just, but my suggestion is...
Yes, but...
They won't.
But there's nothing valid to separate your suggestion against mine, apart from a kind of a proposed situation.
Well, I suppose, yes, of course that's true, but what I'm saying is, on my side, so to speak, I think I would be arguing for literature as a field in which one could encounter the unexpected, whereas the bibliography shuts down the opportunity for the unexpected.
I sort of think it gets you in the right place. It directs you, up the M1 to junction 38, and then you could be exploring that field or that road or that hedgerow.
I quite disagree. The point of the reading list is to see them directly and specifically to individual texts. My suggestion is that you roam the fields and so on, absolutely. But I think the bibliography mitigates against that. But yeah, we'll clearly disagree on that. Oh, yes, okay.
Can I just make one point? Sorry, I know I'm not in the group, but I've worked in the library quite a lot.
Yeah.
And one of the problems with the book list is two ones as a librarian. Is one, they go straight to the desk and says, have you got these books? They really don't go anywhere. And a lot of the times the book list it was done 10 years ago, and most of the books are actually out of print.
Yeah.
So I do actually agree with Kevin on that reason.
Yeah.
That's what the problem with book lists are. They are very, very limited in a long way.
And I've had students that say, I went to the library and I tried to get the books on the reading list, but the librarian said that there was only one copy or there were only 2 copies, so I haven't, that's why there's nothing in my bibliography.
They're all out.
They use it as an excuse not to do
Exactly.
any research.
I think that refers to lazy students who would be influenced or uninfluenced by bibliographies either way. They're people that perhaps you wouldn't touch whatever you did, either intervention or non-intervention, they remain in the same state. But I can take that point about bibliographies being out of date, and I can take the idea that it's an intellectual comfort zone that lecturers have, that they like to put this out. It's also affected by the fact that it's for your peers, for your intellectual peers as much as anything else. But I can also see that in a massive four-floored, massive building full of books, which looks labyrinthine, multitudinous, you don't know where to start. If you've got a bibliographic reference, you at least know, if you're doing 19th century or 20th century, you know where you go, and if you've got half an hour on your hands, you can go around skimming the book spines, cracking a few of them even, and I don't think necessarily, I think I agree in the idea of a kind of scepticism about how to use bibliography, but I think they are pointers, they're signposts.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Right, shall I have tea?
Fancy.